Good morning, everyone. Am I loud and clear? Good. How many of you are flipsters and how many of you are non-flipsters? So just show of hands, how many are non-flipsters? Great to see you here. Hope you release a lot of the takeaways that we want to impart to you over the next 2 days. What I'm here to do is do some very high-level storytelling. The chapters of this story will unfold in some of the talks that will be delivered by Flipsters and even some external talks. So let's see how every nits and bits of the story folds together in some kind of an outline that I'll lay out today. It's just a vague title, Biography of a Platform. Platform itself, how many of you here think you have developed platforms at any point of time? Just 2 platforms in the world? 3 or 4? Is it that you don't understand what a platform is, or you have never developed a platform? So let's try and understand, and I've titled it as Biography of a Platform, which means it's not the platform itself telling the true story of what a platform would be, but it's my interpretation of what a platform would be. So let's start from the very beginning. So I'll relate a lot of incidents and stories from Flipkart itself. When Flipkart really started, Sachin and Binny got together, and from a tech aspect, they said, okay, there's one problem statement that we want to solve, and solve well later, is just sell books. And this was the simplistic platform that Flipkart stood for in, say, 2007 or 8. There was a website. If I remember correctly, Sachin was developing the website part of it. Catalog and ERP was developed by Binny. So this was the entire platform piece. Do you call this a platform? I mean, no offense to Sachin and Binny, but is this a platform? By the looks of it, at least. Just because I've called it catalog and ERP, it looks like a platform, but if I look at the code, maybe it was not a platform. So if I start showing you the code behind, for example, what was inside catalog at that point of time, there was a table called books, there was a table called customers, and there was a table called orders. And this is all that was behind catalog. Do you think now that catalog was a cataloging platform? How many of you believe it was a platform? If Sachin was here, he would have been a bit pissed off that he did not actually develop platforms, because none of you seem to reflect on it as a platform. Website was just a lot of PHP pages. ERP, there's an open source called OpenTabs, which helps you write out customized ERP solutions, and that practically was ERP. So this was the whole and soul of Flipkart at the very beginning. Yes, of course, it's a simple solution, and it worked beautifully. I mean, there were a lot of transactions that were happening. People were buying books, and they were really getting gratified out of it. Then let's look at one of the other storyline, going away from the platform world. Our CEO just happily came by and said, let's do flash sales. It was a few years back. And this was not the entire problem statement. He said, let's do it 4 days from now. Now, do I have the luxury of creating a flash sales platform and getting it out to the market? And business was right at our doorstep saying that this needs to be just delivered. We are already late in the journey, but this needs to be done. So how do you, as a developer, start solving about it, right? So if I remove this part, let's say there is a team which manages the inventory. When you place an order, the inventory count gets depleted. So flash sales, this inventory count will be depleting much more faster. Flash sale is a very high intent shopping spree where there are crazy shoppers who want their hands on a specific mobile phone which is of great interest to them. So really high intent customers. So almost all the customer footfalls on the site at that point is resulting in an actual buy now transaction. So if you understand QPS, throughput, whatever you say it, the inventory system would see a very, very high QPS, and it's not a gradual spike. It just spikes almost within a matter of a millisecond. So can you, afford, as an inventory owner, to say that I will take my inventory system, and overnight, I'll actually develop into a platform which will support flash sales? You will not. You'll practically not. I mean, if any one of you can do that, I mean, please join Flipkart. Right, this is how you, as a developer, will start thinking about. You'll start thinking, okay, let me not worry about platform. Let me not worry about how I can mold my existing system. Let me think about some orthogonal ways. Let me just come up with a static HTML because we are selling just one product. Let me think about static counters, which I can quickly decrement. And maybe I'll deploy a lot of caches. So this is actually not a platform, but these are a lot of growth hacks, and you may call it, early experiments on how can we support flash sales. And all of these are very, very important. I mean, as we go forward in this talk, you will see how all these nitty-gritties do fold into the platform story. So are we beginning to understand what a platform is at this point? How many of you understand the platform world at this point? Still, we have not uncovered the story, so let's proceed. Now, let's start thinking about the transition phase beyond the most simplistic of solves, beyond just the growth hacking part of it. Let's explore this part. If you were supposed to start with this problem statement, I want to create a supply chain warehousing platform. How do you begin that journey? So, most probably, you'll start off by thinking of a data store. Probably a logic on top of the data store, and then a service that powers the interfacing to that data in the data store. Do you think this is the right shape and form of how you think platforms? How many of you agree to it? Yeses, hand raise. How many of you believe that it is not the right way to think about platforms? No's, please raise your hand. Or I see one yes and one no. What about the rest? You don't want to work on platforms? Well, I'll just say it's a very wrong start, and I'll tell you the reasons for it. When you think of platforms, you should not be thinking services, you should not be thinking data stores. You should be thinking fundamental capabilities. Capabilities are very different from thinking solutions, thinking services, thinking pieces of logic. Capabilities are much more functional in nature, and we'll try and understand this word. And first of all, I don't believe this is even the right way to start. So what's the right way to start? This is the right way to start. Just draw a rectangle, circle, whatever you feel comfortable with. Start with an outside-in perspective. Try and answer these questions. Who will use the platform? Who are your actors? How will they converse with the platform, which in your language is the world of APIs, interfaces? And then set bounds on this platform. What will this platform do? And more importantly, what will this platform never do? So this, I label it as outside-in perspective. You're not still thinking about how will you create constructs within a platform, but you're just setting the bounds for that platform. Then you graduate to the second part, which is then inside-out perspective, right? So in an inside-out perspective, you start thinking fundamental capabilities, and I label it as Lego blocks. So you start with some of the use cases, workflows, processes, etc., that you have to support. Think about capabilities that will morph or get composed to support those kind of processes. And the way to measure these capabilities would be, they should be relatively interdependent, independent, though they will be interdependent. What it allows you to evolve independently each of these capabilities in their own organic way, any new capabilities, any new processes that you need to mold in the future, they can be supported with very minimal disruptions. So in an inside-out perspective, you are thinking Lego building blocks. So this is one of the, this is where we landed actually. So this is the warehouse supply chain platform. Uh, the way you see it is, these are Lego building blocks. At the primitive level, you have some inventory services, you have storage, layout, etc. So if you can imagine a warehouse, it is organized into shelf, racks, columns, etc., where you physically put an item. Now, on top of it, in a warehouse, a lot of processes are being molded. You need the ability to receive a product. You need to transfer a product from one hand to the other. So those are layers on top of those fundamental capabilities. And then you start stitching it together. When a truck comes in, you need to take a product from the truck, do some quality check, and take it to the most appropriate location where you want to keep it. When a customer places an order, you need to pick it, maybe collapse it into multiple packages which a single customer might have ordered, package it out, and ship it. So there are a lot of these processes that are being weaved together on top of these fundamental capabilities. And obviously, there's a way to interface with it, which will be the actors. Actor on a warehouse could be a truck driver coming into the warehouse with products. It could be someone who is picking a product from the shelf and going ahead and packing it. Or it could be just a Flipkart mobile app. When you place an order, it needs to be fulfilled from a warehouse. So you wire it down, give it an instruction to the warehouse that please go ahead, assign someone to pick it up and ship it out. So there are a lot of these actors which are interfacing through the interface layer. So now do you understand the concept of platforms? Yes or no? Few more hand raises, so it's getting better maybe. So platform, the way I tend to define now is, it's a consolidation of a lot of fundamental but coherent capabilities, which are well-scoped, well-bounded, but they are coherently achieving a common mission. It could be mission to support a warehousing ecosystem, a mission to support a flash sales, order management system, and so on and so forth. Now let's think about what next from here. What's the evolution story for a platform? And I mean, how many of you understand blueprints? Have you ever seen a real blueprint? And in the traditional lingo, it is typically used for architecting a building, a physical building on the ground. So I mean, this is just one example of a blueprint. It's a guitar blueprint, which will take a 3D shape when it actually gets implemented. So a blueprint typically is an end state of where a product should finish it. And in our world, it truly is a North Star. I mean, it's almost practically not possible to think of an end state because things evolve by the day. Especially for e-commerce, assumptions get challenged, new constructs get added, economies change, customer behavior changes, new kind of products start coming in. So you practically are never stable with an end state. So blueprint is just a concept that, based on current assumptions, add on certain anticipations, be a visionary, and think of what the end state could be, and that is your state of a blueprint. Minded that blueprint is an unconstrained view. The way we tend to solve this story in Flipkart is get all the stakeholders into a room, unconstrain them. That don't think about what your manager is saying in terms of time. How soon do I want the delivery? Do not be constrained by what are the current challenges on the ground. Do not be constrained by what is the current state of affairs. Maybe my product is not well morphed today. There are many things that are not working out. Just go into a purist cell, and in an idealistic state, how do you think of reinstating everything so that you end up with a state that works for you? That's an unconstrained blueprint for us. And the journey towards achieving the blueprint is what I call continuous platformization. I'm sure you guys might have heard of CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. This is a jargon that I just have coined. For me, the act of continuously marching towards a blueprint, the act of continuously morphing your current platform into the next generation platform is continuous platformization. There's a lot of art and science that will enable you to do it. There'll be a lot of constraints around you. There'll be time constraints, there will be delivery constraints, and many conflicting requirements that keep coming to you. So the art is in trying to take on a purist hat off and on, take pauses, think of the next incremental delta of your platform, march towards it, and then think about the next delta, keeping the last state blueprint in mind. So that's the march towards blueprint, and we term it as continuous platformization. But it should be a steady march. The characteristic of a steady march are that it, first of all, should be non-disruptive. You cannot take a pause which disrupts the business. It needs to be almost seamless. And the quality of a good platform is also that all of these disruptions will be very localized. Remember the Lego building blocks. Lego building blocks are small fundamental capabilities. When I march towards the next state, I should be morphing individual Lego blocks. Maybe the entire cell remains constant. So that's localization. So non-disruptive and localized changes will help you take on a steady march towards the end state. Right, so it truly is a North Star vision for all of us. So do we now understand the platform and the platformization concept? Again, show of hands. Great to see now 50–60% of the people beginning to raise their hands. Is there any missing link? Any fundamental missing link? We have talked about capabilities, we have talked about actors, use cases, supporting businesses. But are we missing something really critical that may not complete your journey? Any wild guesses? Where is the data story? I've talked about logic, actions, interfaces, actors, everything, but I have not emphasized on data. And data, hear me in retrospective, I'm sure the data story was not there. I mean, just like I missed the data story in the story so far, data might have been a missing link for us even in Flipkart's journey till a certain point of time. But we reacted well, we reacted sharply, and today data is one of the biggest enablers for us. So let's start to roll back a bit and wire in the data into the story. So this was one of the very simple solutions that worked a long time back. What element of data story needs to be viewed into it so that our platform story is a bit holistic and complete? Instrument data. Don't worry about anything at this point of time. Don't worry about what analysis you will do. Don't worry about how will I use this data at certain point of time. Just start instrumenting data. How many customers are clicking on a buy now button? How many calls are being made to your service? How many times an exception gets thrown? These are really primitive constructs. You as a developer should start imbibing pretty deeply. And what it helps at a very fundamental level, or at a very basic level is, if nothing else, it aids your debugging. And if you need to validate and certify that this functional logic is as expected, it helps you stitch all the data and say, okay, it seems that my data is behaving the way I want to be. The logic is viewed the way I wanted it to be. Right? So this is a really meager but important start. Now, that was a simple solution. When I've evolved to this state of affairs of a platform where fundamentally it seems to be a very well-stitched baseline platform with fundamental capabilities, etc., the next missing link or next actually graduation on a data story would be not just instrument data, but start metering and measuring some of the functional metrics. What is the time taken by a truck to unload all the goods that were supposed to be inverted into a warehouse? What is the average time taken by a picker to pick a product from a warehouse shelf, take it right to the packing center on an average basis. Because that, in a way, reflects on the efficiency of the process that I'm weaving in through our systems. Right? So that's the second graduation. And at this advancement of platform, you need to have that. What does it help you with? At a later point of time, whenever you mature, it helps you with a lot of insights. Where are my bottlenecks? Where is an opportunity to make the process more effective? And trust me, there are these small caveats that view the entire story of ensuring that as a customer, you get the deliveries in time and even pleasantly gratify them as we become more and more effective. So data insight story starts appearing at this point of time. Once you start playing with data insights, you start thinking about data-backed intelligence. Many of the things that you thought are not possible, data in a magical way starts reflecting on you that there's a lot of room for making it intelligent. Remove manual touch points. I can even simulate a human touch point through systems. Maybe that reduces some kind of SLAs. And that actually leads towards artificial intelligence. So at the end, this is all of the story that is coming together for me. This is the maturity curve for any of the platform work that you take up. And this is how we have seen the story evolve. Initially, you are doing a lot of growth hacks. You are doing explorations, experimentations. At some point, you remember to start instrumenting the data, not upfront maybe. Then you start, just graduating from experiments, explorations to just solving it well, systemizing the solutions, not broken pieces of logic. And you remember to start metering and measuring. You start thinking capabilities, you baseline platforms, and start developing data insights. You start scaling the platform because business is seeing a lot of scale. Then, because there are data insights, you start applying certain intelligence to it. And you have learned the art of continuous platformization. You are beginning to apply intelligence, artificial intelligence at scale. And the genet for you is you have developed a platform, a system, which is completely autonomous. So this is the maturity curve that I want you to take into mind. There might be a lot of stories, a lot of ways, a lot of journeys to achieve this goal. But there are certain primitive concepts that we covered in this story which are important to immerse yourself into it. And then I believe that truly world-class platforms will come through all of us. So I'll end this talk at this point of time. What you will see coming across to you over the next set of talks are bits and pieces of all of this story. You will see ML platform being covered, I guess, just after a small break now, where you will see when you start hoarding a lot of data and you have the need to work with a lot of data insights, how do you work at scale, apply a lot of data engineering concepts, right? So you will see that kind of a talk coming forth before you. You will see certain challenges that OLTP platforms face at scale and at the kind of business complexities that Flipkart is challenged with. So there'll be certain talks talking about it. There might be certain nuances that developers have solved on a day-to-day basis, which might be in the growth hack, exploration kind of a phase. Obviously, day two is towards applied intelligence and applied intelligence at scale. So a lot of these nitty-gritties you'll see weaved together through all of the talks covered from here on. So enjoy the chapters which go inside the outline of this story. With that thought, have a happy learning phase in the next 2 days. Thank you.